Today we're going to have a look at this giant ice ball, and I love ice balls, the kids love them, and at the end of the video I'm going to show you exactly how to make a giant ice ball, and it's actually a lot easier than you might think. So the first thing with the ice ball is it can be as big or small as you want, depends on the size materials you've got, and it takes about probably 2 to 3 days for it to freeze properly. But once you have it in front of students, the first thing they like to do is just what I'm doing right now. It's really, really tactile. So encourage them to pop their hands over, encourage them to have a really close look, because inside the ice ball I can see lots of giant cracks. Right towards the centre of it I can see a lot of ice bubbles. And on this one I've added some food colouring. You don't have to, but food colouring just makes it look a little bit more exciting. And interestingly, my hands have gone purple from touching it, yet this looks kind of like a bluey green. And we did add red and blue food colouring, so I can't quite explain that, but that's all part of what science is about. So once I've had a wee play with it, you could ask them a few questions. First of all, the more I do this, the smoother the surface of the ice ball is getting. And it's a really good discussion why that is. And the other discussion is around these big cracks. How have they formed? And I don't know if the camera will pick up right in the middle, but all these wonderful air bubbles that seem to be inside. So lots of great discussion, and it just looks really cool. But the main thing I like to do with ice balls is to put some salt on it. And we know that salt in ice reacts, but this is a great way to show the reaction. So I'm going to try some coarse salt, some sea salt at the first time, and then we'll give just some normal table salt a go as well, just to see what it does. So I'm just going to grab a reasonable sized pinch of some coarse salt, and we're just going to pop that on top. And straight away, some of the salt is starting to impregnate into the ice ball, but we might just leave that for a couple of minutes. I'll put another pinch on, and we'll come back in just a couple of minutes to see exactly what that salt's done to the ice ball. We're around about a minute later, and the ice that I put on top you can see is starting to go into the ice, and we can see a lot of drip lines starting to form. So clearly what's happening is that salt is starting to melt the ice a little bit faster than my hands could. But interesting that the salt is almost getting a bit stuck onto the ice ball. So you can still move it, but it's definitely got a real sticky feel for it. So I'll check back in about another minute's time. So we're about another 2 minutes into it, and we can see that the salt has made a really big impact now on the ice ball. It's starting to melt it fairly dramatically, and as it's melted, I think some of the little bits of salt have made its way down, and we've got these fairly deep crevices in here now. So I'm going to give it a bit more time, and I'm going to add just a wee bit more salt to it. So we're about 15 minutes into it now, and there's been some really cool changes to our ice ball. We've got some little coloured flecks that have appeared, and they're just under the surface, and that's more like the purple colour I thought I'd get with our red and blue food colouring that we put in, rather than that kind of bluey green look that the whole ice ball's got. We've got some quite deep craters formed, so quite a big crater at the top where I've been putting most of the salt, and lots of these real cool indentations around. I'm now just starting to use some normal table salt. I'm going to put a bit more on, and I'm going to sort of concentrate on trying to get some salt into those cracks to really make those deepen. I don't know if you'll pick it up on the video or not, but there's a few audio cracks happening. I can hear some of those crevices, if you like, just cracking open a wee bit more. So I'll come back again in probably another 10 minutes or so for our final one. So we're about 30 odd minutes into it, and I've put a mix of rock salt or sea salt and a mix of some fine table salt onto it. So it's had quite a big change. It's looking really rough now. Some nice big crevices, a huge big hole in the top where the ice has been, where the salt has mainly been going. And look, you could leave this for as long as it takes, but it's with your class. Once you've got it set up, you could actually just leave this somewhere for the kids to observe. I found it really interesting about that purple on my hands. It doesn't look purple on here, and the way that we had some little purple dots form on there from the two food colourings, but the whole thing still looks that bluey green. That's all new for me. One of the things you can discuss with the children as well is the use of salt and ice for practical purposes, and the best one I can think of is in the colder climates when it gets a bit frosty and icy on the roads, is we often have workers come along and put salt and grit onto the roads to melt the ice to make them more drivable. So that's, I guess, sort of reinforcing that practical use for it. So just remember, after this I'll have a few photos and explanation of how to make the ice ball in the first place. Thanks for watching, and have some fun with it. It's awesome.